Good afternoon. We're super excited to have you joining with us today. I know several of you are still joining on with you, but we are excited to welcome you, of course, to Westmark's Workforce Success Series in the month of March. And so we're super glad to have each and every one of you who are joining with us on today. Of course, as always, for our Workforce Success Series, we always want to thank our sponsors. And of course, we want to thank, of course, the City of Surprise and, of course, the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Wright. I am with the City of Buckeye in their Economic Development Department. I serve as their business manager, and I'm going to be your moderator and your host for today's series. Again, thanks for joining us on today. Today is just the second of a series of workshops and webinars that we are doing sponsored by Westmark, where kind of our goal is to really address the concept of workforce. What I love about this workforce series is we're not just looking at what are the problems. I think we all know what the problems are, what the issues are. But one of the things that they're looking to really tackle in this webinar and in these series are what are some of those solutions? And today, of course, is no different. We have a great panel of individuals who are joining us on today. And of course, we want to engage you in the process as well. So if you've got questions, comments, put them in the Q&A area on Zoom. You can put those out there. If you've got questions, we're going to look to get those in and get your questions engaged and involved. I know you've got some, but again, we've got a great panel that are with us today. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got an hour. We've got a lot of great information, and we want to be able to make sure we touch each and every one of our panelists on today. And so we're going to get started. And so first of all, I'm going to have our panelists kind of get started, introduce themselves, who they are, who they're with, and then we're going to get into the session for today. And so I'm going to start right to my immediate right. And so I'm going to start with, of course, Jennifer. Tell us who you are. Welcome, Jennifer. Tell us who you are and who you're with.
Thank you, Brian. I'm Jennifer Jaworski. I'm a reentry employer coordinator with the Employer Engagement Administration of the Department of Economic Security. As a reentry employer coordinator, I work with employers who are open to hiring job seekers who have background barriers, so second chance job seekers. I connect these employers with qualified, trainable, and candidates who have transferable skills.
Great.
Thank you.
Jennifer, we're glad to have you with us today. Tara, tell us who you are and who you're with.
Sure. Well, good afternoon. My name is Terrell Welch. I work for the Department of Economic Security and the Employer Engagement Administration. And I specialize in working with people with disabilities. And so I represent Arizona Rehabilitation Services Administration, VR, and work with both the job seeker and the employers to bring about successful closures. So it's nice to be here.
Great. Thanks again. Welcome for joining us. And of course, Robert.
Hi, and welcome. Thank you for having me here. I'm Robert Garcia. I'm with the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity in the Arizona Commerce Authority. My role is to review the workforce system as we have it here in Arizona, the Workforce Arizona Council, and for business attraction and expansion efforts that we have. My focal point in this conversation is veteran employment. So it's one of our many tools that we have to ensure that all of our people are equally employed throughout the state.
Great. Again, welcome. So as you can see, we've got a talented group of subject matter experts. And so, of course, the question is, what are we sharing today? So in today's Workforce Success Series webinar, we're talking about untapped talent, expanding the labor. And so as we look at workforce, we look at the various issues around that. We want to talk about and give some tools and resources of how you actually meet some of your workforce needs. And there's probably some untapped talent pools that are out there. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Again, don't forget, if you've got questions, put them in the Q&A. We love to be able to get those in and get those questions in as we engage with our panel on today. And so again, let's get started. Let's get this party started for today. I'm going to start with Terrell. And so again, thanks for being with us today. And so, Terrell, you are an employer engagement coordinator, employee coordinator, and specifically you work with individuals with disabilities.
Yes, sir.
And so a great pool to pull from. If you're looking for talent, you're looking for individuals, those with individuals with disabilities, I believe is a great pool. And so let me just start. I got some questions, and let's just get started and get right into it today. Why would individuals think that individuals who have disabilities aren't a viable hiring option? So why would they think that?
That's a great question. It's very challenging. And I worked, prior to working for the state, I worked in the hospitality management for 25 years. And so I understand both sides of it. It's tough to look at things not in a perspective of bottom line profit. And so you have to go into this realm of reaching out and really, is this someone that can be successful? And so what's really neat is there's a lot of organizations out available to employers that can kind of give more in depth in these areas. One that I think is very good is Disability In, and they do a lot of work with building employers and developing to show these areas of profit. So to answer your question, the challenge is to first of all say that people with disabilities are employable, and specifically individuals that come through RSA VR for Arizona, because each individual builds their own individualized plan for employment. So that person that you're considering for that job, that's their career goal. They've been trained, they've been given the skill base, the education, the certification necessary to succeed in that position that you're hiring for. Also, too, the other area that it still is that moment of like, gosh, is there a way to advance this individual? Can they really maneuver, and can they kind of come in and do the job? There's some again too, I know how it feels. The thought of hiring someone with a disability can be, stifling. It could be, I don't know if I could do this. And so you really have to look at this individual on the level of creativity, adaptability, and proven solving skills. Problem solving skills.
Right.
Taking that level and being able to realize this individual or individuals have worked so hard to get even to the point of where they are in the interview. They want to work for your company, and they're prepared and they're ready to go.
That's great. So sometimes it's our perception about individuals who have disabilities, but a valuable tool to pull from. And so something you sent me a little bit earlier, you said in an article you sent me, it was like people with disabilities are looking for opportunities. And it takes a real manager to keep an open mind. And when hiring and considering team members for advancement, it's all about being fair, not assuming someone isn't capable until given a chance, and you will be surprised. And so I think that's a great concept that we all should have, especially as we look for workforce. And so you believe people with disabilities can gainfully be employed and successful in their career choice. Correct?
Oh, definitely. Today, with assistive technology, it has really changed the platform. It really has made, if you'll allow accessibility within your company, which this is services that we would provide to assist that job seeker in being successful. It's little things like a day ahead of their starting their first day at work. Let them tour the facility. Let them see where they're going to take their breaks at. Where is the parking area to their desk? All these points of travel, and then with technology, there's now software available for people who are blind and visually impaired that can be just as competitive as any other sighted individual with the access of the computer to your business. So it's wide open. Yeah.
It's a reality. It's us making it a reality.
Exactly.
It's something that we can make happen. Tremendous. So the question, we've got employers that are online with us today. Again, if you've got questions, put them in the chat. Got Terrell with me. He's ready to answer some questions. But we've got employers out there. Why should employers seek out people with disabilities? Is it because for an employer, ultimately, it's the bottom line.
Exactly.
So if I hire someone who has a disability, is it going to have a positive impact, or is it going to be negative? Can you address?
Sure. Well, first of all, I know what it is to hit a bottom line profit, to be, that is as I said before, that is the focus that where you have to be at. You have to be able to meet the numbers that that are part of your budget in order to be successful. So when looking at people with disabilities, it's key to kind of focus on, I put together 5 key areas: accountability, a different perspective, insight into your customers, more likable, and good work ethic is contagious. So basically, when that person comes into work, they've had struggles in their life that brought them through to the point of where they don't give up. They have a level of work ethic within themselves that will also bring about productivity within your own operation. It's seeing that person, for an example, again, I refer a lot to individuals that are blind, visually impaired, because just imagine one day you're totally sighted and the next morning you wake up and you've lost a percentage of your sight. Your house no longer is the same. How do you go to the grocery store? How do you go into that day of work and a full up interruption in that person's life? And so they struggle to come back, get the training they need to not only work again, but to even take care of basic needs. And so they receive this training, they receive the instruction, and that then helps them so much in the workforce where they're a lot more creative minded. They'll be problem solvers for you. They won't just automatically take, I wonder if this would work. They're going to try to find and dig in. And then because of the challenges they had, this job is their career path. Again, each job seeker has their individualized plan for employment. It's drawn up, designed, the education was given to them, the skills were all in place. And now they came to work for you, not because of, well, gosh, I wonder who's hiring in this. That's their career choice, to work for your company. And so they're excited, they're motivated. On top of that, you now have a whole new market segment that's huge. You can now market your products to the point that individuals with disabilities are going to be more friendly to you because you've involved them. And so you've opened up your company to a whole new network of possibilities for revenue generation and bottom line profit.
Wow, that's amazing. A lot of times things we may not consider in the process, especially from an employer perspective. But 2 things that you said that really stick out to me in that concept. One, you said insight to customers. So hiring individuals with a disability, that if I'm looking at my bottom line, now I have individuals that give me insight to customers that I may not have had before.
Exactly.
And may now open my business up to other market streams or other revenue streams that I may not have considered. So that right there is amazing. And then the other thing you mentioned that really stood out to me was about low turnover. The concept that individuals with disabilities are more likely to be here. They want a career, they want a long-term career opportunity. So when we talk about retention, so not just getting people in the door, but being able to retain them, these are an excellent pool to kind of look from and pull from in that process. So just amazing in that. I read, you sent me something, and I think it said that individuals with disabilities is the 3rd largest marketing or pool of individuals. Am I right there? It's like the 3rd largest pool of individuals to pull from in terms of hiring are individuals with disabilities. So if that's the 3rd largest pool and we're struggling, we might be missing the mark. So I think this just really, again, just speaks to that concept in that process. I got a question. Thanks for, got a question.
That source, though, real quick, came from the United States, according to the Office of Disability Employment Policy, that said that the 3rd largest market segment in the United States.
Okay, so all right. So I got a quick question. I got a question from our chat. So again, thanks to that. How does DOL, Department of Labor, so I'm assuming, how does Department of Labor help employers interested in hiring individuals with disabilities? Are there initiatives? Are there certain incentives? And so I'll pose it to you, but if anyone else from the panel wants to jump in, I'll open it up as well.
Yeah, there's definitely venues that you can receive working with individuals who are severely disabled, and that's a whole list of categorization. And so that's available to you. The exact dollar amounts, I know the most severely disabled you can receive, and I'm not, again, I don't know the exact hard figures. I wasn't ready to go there, but there definitely is considerable incentives to hire people with disabilities.
Okay, great. Thank you. Again, if you have other questions, put them into the chat. If we don't have the answer right now, we'll find out and get it back to you as well. So again, just one or two other questions,
Sure.
Carol. And again, we want to show a video in a couple of minutes or so. But in that process, of course, we've been talking through this concept. Why should companies hire individuals? We talked a little bit about it. We've danced around it. We've got good information. Give me some hard. Here's why. Why should as a company, why should I hire individuals?
Well, we touched a little bit on bottom line profit. It in a recent study showed that companies that champion people with disabilities outperformed others by driving profitability and shareholder returns. Revenues were 28% higher, net incomes were 2 times higher, and profit margins were 30% higher.
Wow.
And so it pays. It flat out is a smart step to make in your business. Years ago, we've just talked about, the virtue of the carrot and the stick, and that's not, it's not a good profitable means for anyone involved. It's the right thing to do. That is a very genuine, heartfelt meaning. But I want to tell you beyond that, it's good sense for your business.
Wow, it's amazing. I'm going to read a comment that you sent me from one of the studies. It's amazing. Recent study showed for the first time that companies that champion people with disabilities outperformed others. That's just amazing. Revenues were 28% higher, net income 200% higher, profit margins 30% higher. Just amazing. So Terrell, thank you. We're going to hear a little bit more from you a little bit later on. But of course, one of the things we said is we want to give you solutions. And so we have some videos. We have a video today that we want to show you. And it is from David Steinmetz from the Arizona Industry for the Blind. And just watch this video about his concept.
Hello, I'm David Steinmetz, Community and Public Relations Manager at Arizona Industries for the Blind. AIB is an enterprise nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering people who are blind or vision impaired to achieve their version of the American dream by creating and sustaining dignified employment opportunities. As an enterprise nonprofit organization, AIB provides a variety of different lines of businesses and people who are blind and vision impaired, from our frontline workers through our executive team, perform various tasks. Our lines of business include warehouse and distribution, or third-party logistics, operating retail stores, as well as providing document imaging and document conversion services. I think it's important to understand that people who are blind or people with disabilities or any marginalized group, that when given the opportunity, people with disabilities, people who are blind, can compete and are successful when provided the proper training with the right attitude and the right technology. So I encourage employers and I encourage leadership teams to look at these marginalized groups as an asset to their organization rather than a liability.
Great. Again, great video. Again, Terrell, thank you so much. We're going to hear a little bit more from you towards the end of our session on today. And so thank you for the good information. Again, we are here. Thanks again for joining us for our workforce success webinar series. Today, we are talking about untapped talent, exploring the labor pool, again, put on by Westmark. And so we appreciate them. And of course, as always, we thank you for our sponsors, the City of Surprise and the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone. We're talking about expanding the labor pool. workforce development. How do I find individuals? We started off with talking about individuals with disabilities. And now I'm going to shift to Robert. Again, Robert, thanks for joining us on today. Robert Garcia is our business strategy consultant for the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. And so we're going to talk about veterans, another work pool that oftentimes we may not consider as much as we should. And so again, Robert, thanks for joining us today. And so again, we're going to get right into it. So we got a couple of questions for you today. And so let's just start. So what does a successful military member recruitment and retention plan look like? What does it look like?
So for companies and for service members, it's always connecting the dots, the job seekers with the hiring managers. A successful plan really leverages on the company understanding what a veteran is and the community that they come from, because it's very particular. It's very disciplined. It's got all kinds of attributes that are not necessarily in the civilian workforce. Understanding that will give you a greater understanding on your recruitment plan. And part of your recruitment plan should be which pipelines you're going to use, which community partners you're going to partner with, and which state and local services are available to help you accomplish your goals. But it's not worth anything if you can't retain them. Right. So your retention plan has to mirror, or at least has to complement, your recruitment plan. So if you go through all these efforts on one side to get them there, and you get very few efforts on the other side to retain them, you're going to lose them just as fast as you get them. And there's also a middle ground called orientation. And that's getting once you have the job offer already done, it's getting them to understand what a civilian workforce requirements are going to be, because those are very important. They're not similar to the military community. So a successful plan would encompass the whole thing in context to specifically the military community and understanding what that is. And we have a lot of really good resources for that to help out.
Right. And so veterans, again, thank you for your service. We appreciate the sacrifice that you made. So I'm an employer. What makes a veteran great employee? What are some of those skills that makes them ideal?
And that's a question that a lot of people ask. So the biggest part is that the veteran community understands what good leadership looks like. They are taught leadership from the very, very beginning. So if you take an 18-year-old student that joins the military, they're going to go through roughly 30 to 90 days of transition. It takes that much time to actually create a service member, 30 to 90 days. And in that time, you're going to learn leadership, you're going to learn culture, you're going to learn history, you're going to learn the whys and how the military, grows and what the expectations are. So because you're indoctrinated in that space, and then when you do your time, you're also getting reviews, you're getting performance evaluations, continuously getting guidance, you're in a mentorship program. So by the time you're ready to hit the civilian workforce, you've already know how to adjust quickly to your new work environment. You're constantly thinking about better ways to do business, and you're constantly thinking about what's the appropriate approach. So I think that plus the academics, there's the veteran education rate in Arizona is over 70%. So over 70% of our veterans have some college beyond high school. That doesn't even include the required military courses of leadership, planning, and job field occupational schools as well.
Right. So those are great skills. And just when I think about it, they know how to be on time.
Oh, yeah.
And they're disciplined. Those are some basic stuff that all employers are looking for, and they understand leadership, they understand hierarchy. And so those are some great concepts and great skills, which makes veterans such a great labor pool for individuals when we talk about workforce. So what are some of the challenges? We talk about, the veteran community, we talk about the workforce community, so what are the challenges between industry and the military community? What are some of those challenges?
The biggest challenge that I've seen, and again, I don't speak for all service members, I would never say that, and I would not speak for all companies, but I'd say one of the larger challenges that I've seen and experienced is the fact that not every military occupational specialty translates to a civilian occupation. If you're an artillery person, I take artillery, I've worked with those guys and gals, and so If you're working artillery, there's really no civilian artillery job to translate to. So then there's skill sets within that though, environmental, safety, OSHA type jobs that they totally qualify for, because safety is a huge deal when you're working with live ammunition, moving parts of that size. And they go through a lot of training, federal training and sometimes statewide training and then overseas training to learn about how to safely operate this equipment. And then it has fuel and has liquids, and we all know environmental. There's rules for that too. So you wouldn't be able to translate the actual job, but you could translate the skill sets. And I think that's where when resumes are written, that's not always easily transferable. To include the ribbons, you guys all see military people with ribbons and medals and how that translates. Some of those are performance evaluations. If you're going to get an accommodation medal for performance, that is your highest level performance accommodation you can get. If it's a combat accommodation, that goes above and beyond that to something more strategic of a performance accommodation. But how do you translate that when you're in competition with people with master's and bachelor's degrees in the same field? So that's really the unbalance that we have.
Yeah, my son, he was in the, it's talked about, sometimes they don't always transfer. My oldest son was in the Navy. He worked on the catapult systems on the carriers.
Oh, yeah.
So there wasn't a natural progression when he transitioned into civilian life, but he has mechanical skills, he has electrical skills, he has some basic fundamental skill sets that can be utilized in a variety of industries. So I was recently at Luke, and they have it's a city, it's a little city, and so we were talking about key industries. We're having this conversation: workforce and water. They have their own water plant, so they have it all on the base. And so again, just tremendous. So what are some of those? So we have these challenges between industry, between our veterans, that concept. And so what are some of the programs to kind of help through this challenge and that progression from military life? What are some of the programs?
So we have quite a bit, actually. So, one of the easiest things when it comes to resume writing is going to be ONET. So there's a lot of programs to help you translate things in that regard, but really the professional should be brought into the table at some point. And that would be your leavers, your local veteran employee representatives, your DVOPs, disabled local veterans representatives. And then you have organizations in Arizona like you have your Arizona Coalition for Military Families through the Arizona Department of Veteran Services. And you still have your Arizona at Work staff, which pretty much do everything. So you have a lot of resources. As they start to transfer from active duty to civilian and they become a veteran, you have your transition assistance program, which is also very good. And they collaborate with the local resources to make sure that they build that transition. So those programs are good. And then we also have programs. The Be Connected program from the Arizona Coalition for Military Families is a good one, because it's not only including the resume writing and all the classes, but it includes the job placement side, and they help them write their resumes and find good employment. And City of Tempe has a great program. City of Yuma has a great program. So it seems like the states are also starting to create their own structures as well to make sure that no one's left behind.
Right, and if I'm wrong, correctly, but as individuals transition out of the military, there is a process for them to go through in terms of helping them get their resume, helping them look for job opportunities. So that's, again, another resource that's provided. So they're not just walking out; they're walking out with the resume that helps them. If I'm correct, that's one great resource.
Oh yeah, so that's a SkillBridge program. SkillBridge is a 12 months identifier, 6-month apprenticeship program or internship program.
Right.
And which reminds me, there's also the state's apprenticeship program, which has a veteran component too.
Yes.
So we have lots, and everything from the workforce opportunity tax credit to our OJT program to our incumbent worker program. There are a lot of resources. Work for Warriors. You have 50 Strong, which is an awesome privatized organization that helps companies get into SkillBridge and to move things along. So there's a lot of resources out there.
Yeah, so SkillBridge, employers, look into SkillBridge. It's a tremendous program. So I definitely encourage you in that process to look into SkillBridge. Don't forget, if you have questions, so we've got a great panel. We're talking about expanding the labor pool. So if you have questions, please put those into the Q&A, and we will look to get those introduced in this process. Right now, with the panel, I'm talking to Robert Garcia, and he is sharing with us. So I got a couple more questions for you, and of course we got a video after that, but a couple more questions. So what is the correct approach to military community recruitment and retention? So is there a correct approach? Is there a way that we can do it?
So the real correct approach is to, again, going back to understanding that community and what it is that they're coming from. You figure it's something very simple. When a person enlists, they're 16, they're 17, 18 years old. They're gone for usually a 2 to 8 year contract. And in that time, everything's kind of makes sense. Everything falls in succession. Your rank, where you live, how you eat, everything's kind of laid out for you. Well, now you're gone from that world and you're transitioning back to civilian world. So I think that the biggest thing is to learn that part. And I think that'll tell you everything you need to know about how to attract them. Companies have a perception that there's a lever. And when you pull the lever, they're all going to fly out.
Right.
There is no lever. So, veterans, the best way for a community plan is for you to get out in the community, sponsor events, get involved, attend the community meetings that are veteran centric. And when you apply, when you have a job fair for veterans, bring in all the partnerships, the Department of Veteran Services, bring in the cities, bring in Arizona at Work, and all the other organizations that can help bridge that communication so that you're not by yourself trying to navigate how to hire a veteran, what success looks like to get them from point A to point B.
Right, great. So as you use that right into my next questions, that's it's good. So a perfect lead in right to there. What are companies currently doing, or what can companies begin to do to attract veterans and reservists and National Guard members? What are some things they're doing, and what are some things we can continue to do or start to do to attract this work?
Well, I think companies are being pretty savvy. This is an employer market. So because it's an employer market, it is driving them to do, I would say, unorthodox things to actually attract them. So they are incorporating the government, the private, and the public sector to try to get those recruitment efforts out there. They're doing force multipliers with private partners to help recruit veterans into their organizations. And they're also starting to collaborate more. You'll see a lot more veteran-centric groups within a company. So they're like a veteran, they create a veteran organization to help attract veterans and to embolden the conversation that it's a good company for veteran service, for veterans to work at. Because we're a small community. So as veterans, we talk to each other a lot. And everybody knows, and if you're on the line, if you're a veteran, there's nothing more than having a conversation with another veteran. It's a whole different world. So if they recommend a good company to work for, I could tell you the veterans are listening. So it's that involvement for sure.
You want to be you heard them. They talk.
They talk a lot.
You want to be a good company so that when they're talking, they're saying good things about your organization. Robert, great information. I'm going to hear back from you again and before we close out on today. But again, great information as well. I know I got some questions. I'm going to get to those in 1 second. But of course, we've got a video that we want to share on today from Paul Smiley's Sonoran Technology and Professional Services. And so we got this video.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Smiley. I'm the president of Sonoran Technology and Professional Services, headquartered here in Goodyear, Arizona. About 85% of our employees require either a secret or a top secret clearance. That's easy to get when veterans leave the military, whether they're separate or retire. So that is kind of the holy grail for us. Do you have a secret or top secret clearance? And then do you understand the mission of the Air Force or the Army or the Navy, which we support a lot? We cannot afford to let those veterans leave the state because the state is going to really perform well in the future. It's the state that has the most knowledge, and we can't afford to let that brain drain leave our state. We're growing fast here in Arizona, and so whether you have a military defense contracting company or you have another type company, veterans could be a possible fit. They are great resources. They're not the only resource, but when you talk about 600,000 veterans in the state of Arizona, that is the crown jewels of our state when it comes to solving the workforce problem.
Oh, another great video, another great video. Again, thanks for joining us on today. If you're joining with us, you are joining in for our Westmark's Workforce Success Series webinar. Today, we are talking about untapped talent, expanding the labor pool. I'm Brian Wright, City of Buckeye Workforce Development. I'm the hostess with the mostest. I got it all going on here. I got a great panel here with me on today. We're here at the Westmark office. And so I know we had a couple of questions, a couple of comments. I just want to read those off. Some of those go back to Terrell. And so a couple of comments. Employers should educate, we were talking about developing a good workforce talent pool. And we started talking about individuals with disabilities. So we had a couple of comments. One, employers should educate themselves about people with disabilities, remove the fear of the unknown, look to the disability community to support. Tremendous comment from one of our watchers, David, thank you. Another one from Heath Anderson, 90% of disabilities are not immediately visible, but looking at a job seeker. Employers can learn much in their DEI improvement process. Another great comment in there as well. I think we answered Brenda's question. Am I sure there? I'm not sure. Does the work for, did we talk about, we'll talk about that. Oh, we'll talk about it. We're gonna talk about that. Yeah. Brenda, hold on for me, Brenda. I got a couple of more. We're getting ready to get to your question about Brenda's question about the opportunity tax credits. We're about to get to that. Again, thanks for joining us. Again, thank you. If you have more questions, put those in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. As always, as we've said earlier, we want to thank our sponsors, City of Surprise and the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone. And so we've heard from Terrell talking about individuals with disabilities. Robert, great information, both of them. Robert talking about veterans, talking about talent pools. And so now let's talk about individuals with second chance opportunities. And so we are super excited. You've heard from her. We've introduced her, but Jennifer is with us, a re-entry employer coordinator, employment engagement. And so again, so glad to have you with us today. And so we're going to talk about second chance employment. We're talking about pools, developing new labor pools. We've heard about disabilities, heard about individuals from veterans, reservists and Coast Guard. And now let's talk about second chance opportunities. I don't think it's almost like disabilities. We almost put them out of our mind and don't think that they are real. So of course, let's talk about second chance opportunities. What is a second chance? What does that mean? Let's start there. Let's just start right there. Not on my paper. What's a second chance opportunity?
The population that I help find employment are folks who have either been previously incarcerated or who are currently incarcerated. So these are folks who do need a second chance. They are active job seekers, but you have to go to them because they're a little shy maybe to go to you and approach your organization if they don't know upfront that you're background friendly, because let's face it, no one wants to walk right into rejection.
Right.
So if they're not sure, you're going to talk to them as an employer, they're going to shy away. So if you have people shying away, you're losing out on a whole pool of candidates who are well qualified or have transferable skills that they could bring to your organization. So you have to meet them.
And so you said background friendly. What does that mean? We were talking about it earlier. What does that mean to be background friendly?
So a second chance employer is an employer who we consider to be background friendly. So the individuals that we're working with have background barriers. They have background histories, things that they're not proud of, but that they've learned from and they have been rehabilitated from as well. So in terms of being a background friendly employer, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't run your background checks, because having previously been in human resources, I know how important that is from an employer liability standpoint. You have to run your background checks. However, you run those background checks, and if you're case by case, that you're willing to talk to that applicant, you're willing to consider that applicant and hear what they have to say about, well, these are the mistakes I made in my past, but this is what I've done to correct them and move forward in my life, because life is about moving forward, not about moving backwards.
That's what I'm dead. That's not who I am.
Exactly.
So great. So when we talk about second chance hiring, what's the ultimate goal? What's the goal of second chance hiring?
The goal of second chance hiring really is twofold. First is to create safer communities by reducing recidivism. Recidivism is when an ex-offender reoffends. So if we can reduce recidivism, we will have more people who are actively in the workforce. And the second part of that, when I said it's twofold, there's also a goal for employers. And employers, your goal should always be to expand your labor pool. And in this case, it includes second chance job seekers.
Gotcha. Great, great, great. So we were talking earlier, you and I were talking off the side, we're talking about the concept of second chance center. And so tell us what that is. What's that about? How did that program start? Because I think it's great. Tell us about it.
The Second Chance program started in 2017 as an initiative by the previous governor, Doug Ducey. And so the idea behind this program is, again, to reduce recidivism. And they started Second Chance centers embedded within 3 different units within the Arizona state prison system across the state. And also, since the advent of COVID in 2001, when things were kind of shut down and it wasn't safe to be indoors with lots of people, they also took it to a virtual environment. And in the virtual capacity, we call that the RED program, for Resource Employment Development. And so now, here we are in 2023, and we have the in-person embedded second chance centers in the units, as well as continuing and growing the RED program, which has a reach across the state. So whereas those in-person centers or second chance centers might only be in select units, the RED program reaches across the whole state. And the idea behind this is that participants are receiving an 8-week curriculum of employment readiness and career preparedness curriculum training. They're writing their resumes, they're getting their mock interviews in so that they can, really fine-tune their interview training skills, and also learn how to talk about their background, so that for those case-by-case employers who are willing to have the conversation with a second chance job seeker, they'll tell you exactly what you're going to find in that background check, and they'll tell you how they have grown from that.
Yeah, that's critical. I worked in doing career services and workforce development as I've helped individuals look for jobs who may have background issues. And I would say to them, keep your head up. Yeah, you did it. That's not who you are now. But again, that whole concept of how do I talk through my past?
Yes.
Because of that, as an employer, if you can't sell me on it, that could be a potential issue. So that's great to hear that is there. So of course, we've got employers on the line, and we already had a question. We'll get into that. Brenda, we're gonna get you. But talk to us about, we talk about second chance. What are some services that are available to employers? And then we'll come back and talk about what are some of the benefits. What are some services that are available?
Okay, fantastic. Well, we have lots of services for employers when you work with Arizona at Work. First of all, these services are at no additional cost to you.
Say it again.
No additional cost.
Say one more time. It's no cost
to Arizona employers, because you are an employer here in the state, you pay your unemployment taxes, and so these services are here for you. So take advantage of them. Don't leave money on the table. Don't leave services on the table. Some of these services do include the Arizona Job Connection website at www.azjobconnection.gov. This is kind of our playground for the whole state, whether you're an employer or a job seeker. It's the sandbox where we can all come together and meet. Employers can put their job orders in and have them posted online. Job seekers can come in and search for those and literally apply through there. Or as an employer, you can go in and actually search job seeker profiles and resumes. So you can be doing all of that for yourself as well as the job seekers doing that. Another thing we do on the Arizona Job Connection website, just like any other website, you can filter your searches. So I like to equate it to shopping. I shop online a lot at Macy's. And so, if you want a particular dress and you want it in a particular color for a particular season, you would put in all those criteria and filter your search. So instead of looking at 10,000 dresses, because my closet won't hold all that, I'm going to look at just the dresses that I want. So if you want to look just at the job orders that you want to see, and as an employer, you want your job orders to get in front of those eyeballs, we tag the job orders for specific reasons so that when a job seeker filters their search, they'll find you. When I touch your job order, I tag it background friendly, so that a job seeker knows if they filter by the background friendly tag, and I keep doing this because I'm using my mouse. that they're going to find employers that I have spoken to and that I know are background friendly and open to talking to job seekers who have background barriers and need a second chance.
Great. So services, but what other some benefits?
Oh, absolutely. There are lots and lots of benefits. And those are tied to the services. Additional services include attending second chance hiring events. I host hiring events inside the prisons at the second chance centers. And this is kind of our 1-2 punch to recruitment. So when you go to the second chance centers and you start recruiting while people are still incarcerated, you're planting the seeds, because the folks who are taking part in the second chance centers, they're generally 30 to 60 days from their release date. So they're getting ready to release, they're getting prepared. This is the time to plant the seed. Meet these people now, give them your information, follow up with them, follow through with them, and they will follow up with you. I can't tell you how many employers call me and tell me. In fact, one was my husband, because he went to one of the in-prison hiring events for his company. And he said, sure enough, one day somebody walks in, tells the girl, I'm here to see David. And David's like, I don't have an appointment with anybody today. Sure enough, Dave walks out, sees the individual, recognizes him right away. And the individual tells David, I met you at the hiring event at Phoenix West Prison. I was released today. My girlfriend picked me up and we drove straight here. How do I apply?
Wow.
So these are motivated individuals. Come to the hiring events, but that's only just planting the seeds. The second part of that 1-2 punch is to come to our hiring events at the parole and probation offices and also at some of our community resource partner locations. These are people who've already been released and they are ready for immediate hire. So that's your 1-2 punch. Planting the seeds for your long-term recruitment needs and that short-term hiring need. Come to those in-person events at the parole and probation offices and hire immediately.
That's the concept of, that was my next question. How do employers get involved? How do they get engaged? It's those things coming out to the events. Are there any other things that employers could do to be involved in the process?
In terms of being involved, absolutely. I would say being involved, call on people like us. We are your business service representatives. We are your subject matter experts. There are human beings behind the Arizona Job Connection website. It's not like using some of the other job boards where it's all artificial intelligence. It's all just plug and chug and put your job posting up and see what sticks. No, you've got people who are actually working with the employers, working with the job seekers and making connections. We're truly making connections and it's about networking. So use us. That's what we're here for. And finally, the other thing that Arizona Network can do is training support for your organization. So maybe you bring people in who don't have the highest level of skills, because face it, in this market today, you cannot find square pegs for square holes. So we're trying to work on fitting those square pegs into round holes, honing down those sharper edges. And maybe that takes some on-the-job training. That's an effort we can help you with. Maybe, as Robert mentioned, incumbent worker training. So you might be shutting down a portion of your organization, but can you repurpose those people throughout other parts of your organization? And finally, the registered apprenticeship. Registered apprenticeship is so key because it's getting paid while you train, getting paid while you learn. And when you make that investment in an employee, whatever their situation is, that shows the employee that you've invested in them, they'll invest back in you. You will get that loyalty, you'll get that retention.
Oh, that's you just dropped the mic for me. That was it. That was it. You know, I don't know if you heard her. If you didn't hear her, she said it. You may not get a round peg for a round hole. You might get a square peg, and you're gonna have to do some work to get it into that round hole. That's workforce today. That's what it looks like. So that's tremendous comment. Put that on hashtag that. Somebody hashtag that. Put it out there, get it out in the universe. She said it. That was Jennifer, wasn't me. Real quick before we go, did we get Brenda's question?
I have that answer.
So Brenda's question was, and we had a question online, does the work opportunity tax credit help employers who hire people with barriers to employment?
Yes, absolutely. There are benefits to employers for hiring people with barriers to employment, a variety of barriers. That could be having background issues, that could be having disabilities, that could be people who are veterans with a veteran status. So in fact, to answer Brenda's question directly, the work opportunity tax credit, which we call the WOTC, WOTC, is a tax benefit to the employer for hiring individuals in certain targeted demographics. So those targeted demographics can also overlap. So that tax credit could be in a range. It could be anywhere from as little as $1,200 to $9,600. And it's really easy to incorporate this in your hiring process. It's two really simple forms. If you include that in your new hire paperwork, do it as part of your onboarding process. If people check enough of the boxes, process it. You're leaving money on the table, process it. So the way you can process your work opportunity tax credit application is by going to WOTC, that's WOTC.azdes.gov. So apply there. If you need help with that, let me know, because I've put together a handy dandy document to help walk employers through that. It's really just a couple of quick steps and quick clicks online. If you do it alongside your payroll process, it really does speed it up and make it easier. You can process it yourself. You don't need a fancy payroll service to do it for you. You can do it for yourself as a business. Additionally, in addition to the work opportunity tax credit, for employers who do hire high risk employees, such as people who have background barriers, there is the federal bonding program, and that is a federal benefit. So what the federal bonding program is, it offers fidelity bonds free of charge. So again, at no cost to you, free of charge. And each bond is worth up to $5,000 with a $0 deductible if you should need to make a claim. So that will cover the first 6 months of that individual's employment. And it's just a safety net. Most businesses who apply for the federal bonding never have to use it. But if it makes you feel better, able to sleep better at night, do it. It's there. That's what it's there for. I should also just go back to the WOTC. One important timeline on the WOTC, if you're going to apply for the work opportunity tax credit, is you need to apply within the first 28 days of that new employee's date of hire. So do it right away. So I'm sorry if you're just learning about this now and you want to cash in on it for someone you hired 6 months ago. I'm so sorry. You have to apply within the first 28 days, but now you know. And now when I help you make a hire, we'll get you to apply for that right away.
Great. Tremendous. Of course, we're getting close to our time for the day, but we got a video, of course, that we want to show. We've got a video from Dwayne Gibson from Titan Engineered Solutions. And so we're about to go to that video that we're going to show. That's right, video? Where we go? Ready to go? What was that about? We're getting ready. So we got a video we're going to show where we're going to show talking about individuals with second chance. And so we're excited to share those videos now. So the first one is Megan. So great. So Megan Thompson. So again, we're going to start with that video. And we've got it queued up and we are ready.
Hello, my name is Megan Thompson. So I oversee talent acquisition at Progressive Roofing. We are a commercial roofing company. We are located here in the Valley and in the Phoenix area, but also we have other locations here in Arizona and across the nation as well. We are always actively hiring and growing, and we have been a family owned and operated company for the last 40 plus years. It's recruiting, and it's a very different job market right now too. You can't just make a job posting and hope people come to you. You need to go find people. So I started working with Arizona at Work primarily and looking through, okay, what do they have to offer, and then expanded from there. So I found we do have, we are background friendly. We do have some exceptions, so that is always voiced, but I've kind of started to learn, like, you can't just have blinders on and just be looking in one direction. You need to open up your mind, open up your ideas, and know, like, there are other opportunities out there to find really, really good qualified candidates to join your company. So my advice is always try something new, especially it's crazy job market right now, I think, for employees and employers, and you're always just having to make changes and do something differently. But don't be afraid to try something. I've kind of adopted the idea of just say yes, and I've done a lot of things I've tried. Some have worked really great, some haven't, but at the end of the day, I now know, okay, how can I modify something to make it better?
I'm Dwayne Gibson with Titan Engineered Solutions. I'm the operations manager here. We are a mining solutions company that provides a variety of different services to the mine. We have a team of engineers and designers who go into the mine and reverse engineer products. and reverse engineer piping systems. We bring them back to our Chandler facility and then design them, and then we build them, and then we fabricate them, and then we also add all kinds of industrial coatings to them. We have found that the background friendly environment has opened up a new avenue and a new toolbox for us in our recruiting methods. We've been able to outreach to a lot of different sources that we never had before, and we've been able to pick up some employees that have skills that are very, very difficult to find in this environment. A lot of these individuals that we work with and recruit, they want to be able to prove that they've changed and they are a good person, and so they're striving their best to get better and better every day.
Great. This is great information as we've been sharing this. We're coming close to the end. We just, as we're about to close out for today, again, our Westmark's Workforce Success Series webinar, Untapped Talent, Expanding the Labor Pool. And so before we go, I got about 30, 45 seconds for each of you. We're going to put your information up because we want people to be able to contact you, to be able to reach out to you. And so I just want to be able to give me 35, 45 seconds of something that I didn't cover that you want to leave the people with on today about untalented work pools. And so I'm gonna start with Terrell. I'm gonna go back to Terrell. Give me 30, 45 seconds about individuals with disabilities. Why should we hire them? Give me something.
So WYOA Title IV Vocational Rehabilitation VR Services, their guidelines are put in place through the VR program for services for individuals with disabilities to prepare for, to enter, and to retain employment. Services are provided by VR, may include but are not limited to vocational job training, job search, placement, transportation, job site modification, self-employment, and entrepreneurial activities. And because of the hard work and dedication of the Arizona VR team, individuals with disabilities today can be placed and are ready to go to work. And so they provide the necessary skills and support, and have put together a good program. And then we're here to help assist them in that placement element.
Wow, great. Thank you. Terrell Welch, Employment Coordinator, Employer Engagement Administration. Thank you so much for joining us. Robert, come on, I got 30 seconds. Give me something. Veterans, talk to me.
So I'd say that, if you want a ready-made workforce, ready to go from all levels of workforce, from executive down to middle management or supervisor, use all your state resources, Arizona at Work, the Arizona Department of Veteran Services, then also use private end resources, 50 Strong, Work for Warriors, and other organizations, career connectors. Once you reach them, they're going to be happy to work for you. Know that they're fully qualified. And I think the more we help them, the better off we are as a state and as a vibrant workforce.
Great. Thank you so much, Robert Garcia, Business Strategy Consultant, Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. Thank you for joining us today. And then last but not least, Jennifer, talk to us. Give me 30, 45 seconds. Individual second chance opportunities.
Absolutely. For those businesses out there who are hiring and you're asking yourselves, where have all the job seekers gone? You need to go to where the job seekers are. So contact me. I will put you in touch. I will get you out to the events. And the next best thing after that is to set up your employer account in the ArizonaJobConnection.gov website. And we would be happy to put you in touch with the folks who are looking for jobs.
Wow, great. Thank you again, Robert, Terrell, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. Again, thank you for joining us on today. You have been tuning in to our Westmark's Workforce Success Series webinar, Untapped Talent, Expanding the Labor Pool. And so, of course, these are bi-monthly events. And so our next one, I've got the information. Come on, get ready, mark the calendars for May 17th. Our next Workforce Success Series webinar. You're going to love this one. I love this. Find them, keep them. Recruiting and retention tips. You can't beat that. So we're going to be hearing from another great panelist, some other great individuals, great moderator. So again, May 17th, find them, keep them. Recruiting and retention tips. Again, thanks for joining us today for our Westmark Workforce Success Series. Again, as always, we thank our sponsors for today, the City of Surprise, the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone. And so again, we thank you. Again, my name is Brian Wright. I am with the City of Buckeye, the Economic Development Department. So glad to be here. Thank you, Westmark. Thank you, Kevin and KJ, for allowing us to have these great times of coming together. Thanks again for our panel. And as always, we look forward to seeing you again on May 17th. You have a great day.